So today we'll be talking about integrals and floating point data types, which are two of the four main data types that we'll talk about in this course. There is actually a fifth data type, Boolean, but it is quite different from the others, so we'll consider it something else for now. In this lecture, integrals and floating points are basically numeric or number data types, while the others might be considered the character data types. So again, in this lecture, we'll be dealing with the number types in greater detail. By definition, they're called integrals for whole numbers and floating points for decimals. An integral stores and holds a whole number 1, 10, 50, 6,897. There's no point. It's just a whole number, a rounded up number. And there's many ways to represent an integral, although the most common might be an integer or a character. You can also use byte, sbyte, short, int, long, etc. Now floating points represents all the numbers that have a decimal place. For example, 0.8986 or pi 3.14, etc., etc. Anything that deals with the decimal place. If you want to find the specific or have a precision estimate on an exact number, you would use a floating point because it would include all those decimals. And so some examples of those would be a float, which holds up to 7 digits. A double holds up to 15 or 16 digits, and a decimal can hold up to 29. Now, a second ago, I was talking about the specifics or the precision, and that's represented by a term called significant digit, which is the specific accuracy of a value, and we think of the specific digits or the significant digits from a mathematical standpoint. So in order to tell a program what we want it to be, we can use something called suffixes, and they are placed after numbers to format its types. So if you place, like, let's say 34F, it'll make it a float, or D will make it a double, M will make it a decimal, and E will make it an exponent. And so when we think about C#, everything read into C# should be in string format. And although you don't have to output it in string format, you can in order to format how it's converted or how it looks on the screen and also its precision. So I use numeric format strings to convert it into a string using the toString method, which we'll talk about later, and then we'll convert that number into the string with formatting and the correct precision. So let me give you an example. If I had a variable called total do, and I converted it into a string total do.toString, and then inside the parentheses I put F3, I mean subtotal do will be converted into a string and have a fixed point of 3 decimal places.